The Golden State Valkyries spent 40 minutes grabbing, holding, and throwing elbows at Caitlin Clark, and she left the court with actual scratches on her arms to prove it. A near brawl with Janelle Salon, trash talk with Tiffany Hayes, a flagrant foul call for a hard screen, and Clark still shot 47% and handed out 9 assists. What does it take to actually slow her down? Because based on what happened last night, the answer right now is nothing. And the Fever walked out of that building with a win that felt like a statement to the rest of the league, with Caitlin Clark going nuclear against the Golden State Valkyries. What do you think of Caitlin showing her fiery side? Comment down below. Before we go into the in-game scuffles, let's talk about Clark's physical and mental state entering the game, because it gives a lot of context why she went nuclear after all the physicality from Golden State. Back soreness sounds minor until you've actually dealt with soft tissue issues, because the physical pain is only part of it. Every time you plant your foot hard, every time you take a hit driving to the basket, there's a voice asking whether this is the rep that makes it worse. Clark addressed this directly in her pre-game comments, calling the return from soft tissue injuries a real mental challenge, and saying that if she doesn't feel 100% confident in her body, she's not sure it's worth playing. That's a surprisingly honest thing to admit for someone with her competitive profile, and it tells you exactly what she was carrying into this game.
And I think it's just the trusting yourself. Is like, you can go out there and perform and do what you want to do. It's just like that mind block of, certain what ifs that get in your head. And, I think I've done a really good job. And, there's going to be days where maybe I take a step backwards, but, hopefully today I can take another 3 forward. But like I said, I feel really good. Continuing to rely on the people around me. I feel like I've built a really great team of people, whether that's, personal people or whether that's here at the Fever, that really have my back and have really poured in a lot for me to be in the position that I am.
So she walks back out there against the Golden State Valkyries, a team that has spent the whole season making it clear they're willing to get physical with her. And she has to manage both the uncertainty in her back and the fact that she's about to get grabbed and held for 40 minutes straight. The pregame question wasn't really whether she was healthy enough to play. It was whether she could play free, without hesitating on drives or pulling up short because her body wasn't fully trusted yet. And that kind of hesitation kills rhythm faster than any defender can. The first quarter answered it. Clark didn't ease in or feel out the game. She went straight at the Valkyries and scored or assisted on 17 of Indiana's first 21 points. That's not a cautious return. She finished at the rim, found cutters, pulled up from range, all the things that require full physical commitment from a body she'd been second-guessing days earlier. That first quarter was Clark playing like she had something to prove to herself, not just the Valkyries. Stephanie White talked post-game about how Clark's emotion, when it's channeled the right way, benefits the whole team and is one of the things that makes her special. White's framing was that you don't want to take that away from her, because it's exactly what fuels the runs Indiana needs. Clark didn't come back from injury playing it safe. She came back with something burning, and the Fever fed off it from the opening tip. Tiffany Hayes was the main problem on the holding and grabbing front, the kind of off-ball contact that's genuinely hard to call consistently, but wears on a player over time. Clark clearly noticed because the two of them were jawing at each other throughout the second half, and we'll get to the specific moment that set that off in a second. She was so locked into the moment that the call didn't even register, which also tells you how close things actually came to going further. The flagrant foul call came late in the fourth quarter, with about 2 minutes left, when Clark set a hard screen on Veronica Burton that officials ruled involved contact near the head and neck area. Clark, post-game, acknowledged it pretty directly, saying, "I guess I have some fines coming my way for both the technical and the flagrant." Most casual fans think of Clark as a shooter and a passer, someone who wins with skill and vision. But she was out there setting hard screens and taking the consequences, doing the physical work that doesn't end up in any highlight reel. The Valkyries spent 40 minutes trying to grind her down, and instead, they just made her angrier. Indiana went into halftime down 7, and that's a tough spot in any game, but in a game where your best player had just nearly gotten into a fight and been getting grabbed all night, it could have broken the whole thing open for Golden State. It didn't, because Clark came out of that locker room with a very specific look on her face, and the Valkyries felt it immediately. She attacked from the first possession of the third quarter, layups while getting fouled, pushing the pace in transition, finding cutters when the defense collapsed, and the Valkyries just couldn't reset fast enough to handle any of it. The halftime altercation with Salon had lit something in Clark, and she admitted post-game that those competitive moments are exactly what she loves about the game because they excite the crowd and get teammates going, even while acknowledging she needs to find a better balance. So she knew what was happening inside her, and she aimed it directly at Golden State's defense. Then came the shot. Clark pulled up from the logo, from well beyond the arc, with Tiffany Hayes closing out on her and buried it. Commentators called it a logo 3 coming from another stratosphere, and it tied the game at 48. Hayes had been grabbing and holding Clark all night, and instead of forcing anything or settling for a bad shot out of frustration, Clark just waited and then hit the most disrespectful ball in basketball right in her face. One analyst noted afterward that Hayes struggled to score for the rest of the game, seemingly too focused on getting under Clark's skin to take care of her own offense. Stephanie White's adjustments played into this too. She increased the pick-and-roll usage between Clark and Aaliyah Boston, which gave Clark cleaner looks and forced Golden State into split-second decisions they weren't ready to make against a player operating at that speed. When the Valkyries loaded up to stop Clark's drives, she found cutters. When they dropped back to protect the arc, she attacked the paint and drew fouls. When a second defender came, she kicked it to the open shooter. Clark then hit a crucial and one that gave Indiana their first lead of the second half at 53-52, and that was essentially the moment the game flipped for good. She finished with 22 points and 9 assists on 47% shooting, and most of that damage happened in stretches where Golden State genuinely had no answer, just a longer list of fouls. Clark going nuclear gets the headline, but Indiana didn't win this game on one player's stat line. They won it because 3 other players delivered at exactly the right moments, and the timing of each contribution was almost too clean to believe.
Tell exactly what happened there as Clark bounces inside for Boston.
Good patience.
Oh, with the shot clock down to 6. There is Mitchell, feet inside. Boston faces, spins, pretty footwork.
Absolutely fantastic footwork. Versus
Aaliyah Boston finished with 20 points and 16 rebounds, and the rebounds number is the one that doesn't get enough attention. The Valkyries have real size and length in the paint, so Boston wasn't collecting those boards unchallenged. She was fighting for them, every single one, and what that meant practically is that Indiana kept possessions alive while Golden State couldn't get anything going on the offensive glass. Every time the Valkyries' defense collapsed on Clark or Mitchell and gave up an offensive rebound, Boston extended the possession. Every time Indiana needed a stop, Boston cleaned the glass and killed the putback opportunity before it started. 16 rebounds in a game that physical isn't a counting stat, it's a body of work.
Handoff, Boston backing her way inside, kick out Hull, repost Boston. Boston turns, fades, fires and hits.
beautifully done. Boston back to back, the repost in the one-on-one.
Kelsey Mitchell scored 19 points and went a perfect 11 for 11 from the free throw line. And that free throw number is what actually decided the fourth quarter. When a game tightens up and the other team starts fouling, you need someone who walks to the line and doesn't think about it, just converts. And Mitchell did that 11 times without a single miss. No drama, no hesitation, just points on the board when Indiana needed them most. 11 attempts, 11 makes, and Golden State had no answer for it because there's no defensive adjustment for a player who simply doesn't miss.
Clark and the Indiana Fever here. First possession from Indianapolis as Mitchell gets inside and lays it in.
Sophie Cunningham came off the bench and dropped 11 points, and the timing of her scoring burst in the fourth quarter is what made it matter so much. Indiana's offense had slowed slightly. Clark was drawing so much defensive attention that the ball movement had stalled a little, and Cunningham stepped in with the kind of confident, timely scoring that's genuinely hard to prepare for when it's coming from a bench player. Opponents don't spend their film sessions game planning Cunningham's fourth quarter scoring, and that's exactly why it worked. Johnson and Lexi Hull contributed off the bench too, so this wasn't a situation where Indiana's depth dried up, and Clark and Boston had to drag dead weight through the fourth. Stephanie White's rotations kept the Fever fresh enough to close it out, and that matters against a physical team like Golden State because tired legs turn close games into losses. Clark's post-game comments about the referees, though, are worth getting into separately. Clark found out about her technical foul during the post-game interview, not during the game. And her reaction told you everything about where her head was for 40 minutes. She wasn't managing her image or calculating risk out there. She was fully inside the game, and the technical just didn't register while it was happening. Her response when told about it was basically, "Oh, I could have gotten ejected," delivered with genuine surprise, not performance.
For you to just go out there and play, especially in a game like that where it was a little more intense.
Yeah, it was definitely really physical too. And they're a really good team, and they're really good defensively. And we battled, and I thought we played really great defense, especially in the second half. And thought we got off to a good start, then we kind of dropped a little bit, and then the second half was really, really good and kind of powered us through. I thought we played great one-on-one defense. That was kind of what they were just doing, is hunting ISO, especially on me, like just ISO, top of the key. And we forced them into contested twos. I think they were 4 for 17 in the fourth quarter, so it's a recipe for a win for us. But for me personally, like, it was definitely good to, see my first 2 shots go in and then kind of go from there.
Her comments on the flagrant foul were just as direct. She wasn't apologetic about setting a hard screen, acknowledged why the call got made, and talked plainly about the tension between playing physically and staying on the right side of the officiating line. Most players give you the diplomatic non-answer in that situation. Clark just said what she actually thought, which is that she's going to play hard and sometimes that costs her, and she's aware of both sides of that reality. The broader officiating picture around Clark all season is genuinely complicated. She draws contact constantly, gets held and grabbed more than most players in this league, and the calls don't always come. But she also plays with an edge that occasionally crosses the line, and she knows it. That self-awareness is what separates her post-game from a rant. She's not pretending the flagrant was a bad call or that her technical was someone else's fault. She owns her role in the physical exchanges while also being clear that some of what the Valkyries were doing to her all game shouldn't be allowed.
And then that chippy moment with Solana at halftime that led to the double text.
I was just trying. Oh, did I get a technical? Oh, no way. Oh, it just makes sense for the refs tonight, so I'm not surprised. Wow, I could have got ejected. I should have been a little safer in the second half. Okay, well, guess I have some fines coming my way. And a flagrant. Wow. Well, the refs were interesting, but I'm not going to say anything else because obviously I got probably $1,000 worth of fines coming my way, but I was just trying to get the rebound, and I didn't know I got a technical foul, but thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. Okay, next question.
The technical foul accumulation is something Indiana can't ignore going forward. Enough technicals trigger automatic suspensions, and a Clark suspension during a tight playoff race would cost the Fever in a way that's hard to recover from. So her ability to channel that fire without letting it tip into ejection territory isn't just a personality question. It's a roster management question for Stephanie White. White's whole approach with Clark is to aim the fire, not suppress it, and the difference between those two things is everything. A player who gets told to calm down eventually stops competing at full intensity. A player who gets taught to direct the emotion competes harder and smarter at the same time, and that's what Clark looked like against Golden State. She left that game with scratches on her arms, a technical she didn't know about, and a 47% shooting night. The Valkyries ran their physical game plan for a full 40 minutes, and it just made her more accurate.
Caitlin in the third quarter, you hit the deep three to tie the game, and you kind of go on like a little personal run there with some of the plays you were making.
Yeah.
What is it about those intense moments, you're talking, they're talking, those moments that you enjoy so much about competing?
Yeah, I think that's just being a competitor, and like that's what's fun. That's what I love about it, and like I think that's what gets the crowd into it too, and gets my teammates hyped up. And I think there's times I can probably find a little bit better of a balance because like doing all that is a little bit exhausting too.
Let's just run through what Clark actually did in this game. She came back from a back injury, absorbed 40 minutes of grabbing and holding, nearly got into a brawl before halftime, picked up a flagrant for a screen, found out mid-interview that she'd had a technical the whole time, and still shot 47%. That's not a good game despite the circumstances. That's a good game because of them. Because Clark at her best isn't Clark when everything is comfortable and clean. It's Clark when someone gives her a reason, and the Valkyries gave her several. What makes this win worth paying attention to beyond the final score is how Indiana actually built it. They dug out of a 7-point deficit without panicking, with Boston winning the physical battle inside, Mitchell converting at the free throw line when the game tightened, and Cunningham scoring off the bench at exactly the moment the offense needed a jolt. Clark didn't have to carry dead weight to get this one. Every player who needed to deliver something specific delivered it, And that version of the Fever is genuinely hard to beat because there's no single thread to pull.
Like, I just love the game. I love being out there, and I love those moments and getting the crowd hype. And, you know, I think that just brings out the best in both teams. Like, this is a great game. A lot of great competitors on both sides. And, you know, we both want to win. And I think Natalie's done a great job coaching them. She gets them to compete no matter what. Like, they played a tough game and won last night in New York, and they came in here, and you wouldn't have known that by the way she gets those girls to play. So you got to give them credit as well.
The Valkyries ran a physical, disciplined, defensive game plan, and it produced scratches on Clark's arms and a 7-point halftime lead. That's it. By the fourth quarter, Indiana held the lead, Mitchell kept converting at the line, and Golden State ran out of answers. A team that committed to fouling and grabbing their way to a win walked out of that building with a loss, which is the clearest possible signal that the strategy doesn't work. Clark's first full season in 2024 showed she could change attendance numbers and TV ratings, while pushing the team to the playoffs. What this season is starting to show, game by game, is that she can do all of that while getting physically targeted every night and still put up 22-9 on 47% shooting. The gap between what opponents are trying to do to her and what she's actually producing keeps getting wider, not smaller, and teams around the league have had a full year to figure out how to close it. So far, none of them have. The Valkyries tried harder than most, and Clark left with scratches on her arms and a win. What do you think of Caitlin showing her fiery side? Comment down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on all things basketball. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.